I hear it. Recording in progress. That's what she says. Okay, so we are live, we are recording, and we're going to get going. We're talking about meal tracking 101. We're going to talk about apps. We're going to talk about portions. We're going to talk about actually logging the things and nutrition labels and a couple of tips at the end. So we're going to just go ahead and jump in. Like I said, if you are watching this, whether it's live or on the replay, if you will give this video a like, and in even just a comment down at the bottom, the more comments and likes and things that our videos and everything in our group gets, the more it pops up on other people's feeds and the more Facebook rewards us for that. So I would be forever grateful if you all could interact with anything you see coming across your feed from our group. So let's get this last thing recording. Okay. So today we're going to talk about meal tracking, and this is sort of like an intro or like a beginner's crash course, if you will, on meal tracking. So some of this might be familiar to you if you are experienced with meal tracking, but hopefully I can provide everybody with a couple of little nuggets to take away tonight. If you are not experienced with meal tracking, then you are in for a real treat. I'm not in for a treat. I mean, I am in for a treat because I get to be here with you, but really you are in for a real treat with lots of information that I'm going to give you. So as always, please feel free to comment with questions or ideas, thoughts, whatever happens to come to your mind. Please comment on those things down in the video. I love hearing from you and hearing your thoughts and hearing your questions when you are watching the videos. So let's move on here. Let's see. All right. Oh yeah, we're going to start by talking about food labels because really everything begins with the food label. So I'm going to share my screen and show you a sample food label so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So please bear with me for just a second while the elderly figures out how to do Zoom. And yes, I'm calling myself the elderly. Okay, so let me get this. I'm going to hit share screen, maybe. Here we go, share screen. Maybe share screen, there we are. I'm hopeful that you will see my screen. Oh, wait, I'm going to move this over here. Okay, I still see me. Let me see what I see in the group. Do you see my nutrition label? The group is a little bit behind me. I'm going to give it a second to make sure that everybody can see what I see. I got to wait for it to pop up in the group. Ah, there we are. Yep. So again, while we wait for everything to catch up in the group to where I am, please remember, like, love, comment if you're here. Okay, so each part of this particular label is color coded so that it's easy for you to see exactly what I'm talking about. But I want to start by talking about this blue area, the serving size. So that's super important because sometimes there are certain products that seem as if they should be single serve, and they are in fact not. There are multiple servings in it. A good example of that is the small packs of like peanuts and things that you might get at the gas station on a road trip. You might think, oh, peanuts, this is a great healthy option on my road trip, except if you eat the entire thing, you've now had like 600 calories. So it's important to pay really close attention to how many servings are in your product, whatever it is you have. And I don't know, this is like a fake label. This doesn't go with any actual product, so I don't know what this is. But how many servings are in your product, and then the size of the serving. So you're going to notice that this one is 2/3 of a cup. If you happen to catch the live last week where I talked about my favorite tools for fat loss, you heard me go on and on and on about having a digital food scale. And so rather than measuring 2/3 of a cup, I always would recommend weighing 55 grams instead of measuring 2/3. What actually comes up in a measuring cup is oftentimes not equal to what something weighs. So weighing is always going to be more accurate than using a measuring cup, because sometimes you might pack the measuring cup tight, sometimes it might be loose, sometimes it's a heaping amount, it's not, whatever. Weighing is always going to be more accurate than measuring whenever possible. So, and I'm going to get into this a little more, but nutrition is never a perfect science. However, we want to do what we can to get as close to it as we can get. So if you did not catch that live last week about my favorite tools for fat loss, where I spent quite a bit of time talking about the food scale, and I talked about other things, I talked about tools I love, tools that I don't recommend, let me know in the comments and I can happily tag you in that post from last week. So anyway, so we've got 8 servings in this. Each serving is a cup or a weight of 55 grams. And that is important when we talk about our portion sizes. We want to make sure that our portion sizes are correct. And we don't ever want to eyeball our portions. I see it all the time. People eyeball, oh, this is about 2/3 of a cup, and then they move on with life. More times than not, we're overestimating because our eyes tend to be bigger than our stomachs. And we are overestimating, which consequently means that we're eating far more calories than we think we are. And then we get stuck and we're like, why aren't I making progress and whatever? And that's the reason why. So weighing and measuring is absolutely critical important. So pay close attention to that blue area. So next I want to talk about the calories. And this particular product has 230 calories. And while those calories are important, what's more important is what are those calories made up of? So we're talking about the macros or macronutrients. So if you're not familiar with macros or macronutrients, that's the total fat, total carbs, and total protein in a product. So fat has, each gram of fat is worth 9 calories. Each gram of carb is worth 4 calories, and each gram of protein is worth 4 calories. So when you do the math, all those things should total up to the total amount of calories is 230. So if you actually work this math out, the fat is 8 grams of fat is 72 calories. 37 carbs is, I don't know off the top of my head, so let me look here. 37 times 4 is 148 calories. And then the 3 protein is worth 12 calories. When you add all that up, you get 232. Anybody see the problem? 232, but what does this label say? It says 230. So we need to always keep in mind that on nutrition labels, manufacturers are allowed to round up or round down, which in most cases they will round down, an item depending on like the decimal point, right? So 232 calories is what is actually in this product, although they are allowed to say that it's only 230. Okay. So that oftentimes can really throw off our numbers if we're tracking in an app and you may run out of calories or have extra calories, but then the macros don't seem to match up with the calories and things get weird. And it's because companies are allowed to round up or round down their macros and their calories. So keep that in mind. One thing that I always try to remind my clients is that in nutrition, close enough is always going to be close enough. Very rarely are we perfect. And even if we happen to be perfect in our app, in real life, what's actually we've consumed in our bodies is probably not actually perfect for reasons like this. And so that's okay. I don't want you stressing about nutrition down to every gram of your macros or down to every calorie, because realistically, that's just not real life. And realistically, even if you did get it spot on, it's actually not spot on anyway. So keep that in mind all of the time. If you are watching this video right now, please say hello, give us a like, do something. Let me turn my page here on my notes. Normally I have my notes up on the screen when I'm reading and I am sharing my screen with you. So I had to go like old school and print out my notes. And so I'm looking down a lot. Normally I try to look at the camera more. So I'm sorry if you see me looking down, if that's kind of weird. Okay, so anyway, back to the label. The remainder of this yellow area covers other important information like the vitamins, minerals, fiber, things like that. I would say after the macros, the next most important thing you want to look at is the fiber. The majority of Americans, the extreme majority of Americans are not eating enough fiber in their diet. For women under age 50, we want to be getting 25 to 30 grams of fiber. Women over age 50 are shooting for 20 to 22 grams of fiber. And most women, most people in general, men actually need even more. Men are somewhere around 38 grams of fiber is what they need. And most of us as Americans are usually in the neighborhood of about 10 or 12 grams on average per day. So it is worth paying attention to the dietary fiber right underneath total carbohydrates. And it is worth tracking that and making sure that you are getting enough. Not only will your gut health thank you and your digestion will thank you, but down the line, when we start getting older, like me, and you start thinking about being at risk for things like colon cancer, fiber is incredibly important. And we want to be handling that before it becomes a concern. We want to make sure we're eating enough fiber long before we are worried about things like that. So definitely keep an eye on your fiber. And then there are the other things in there, like the sugars, the saturated fats, and things like that. Those are important, but those are far less, they're going to have a far smaller impact on your overall nutrition and goals as far as weight loss and whatnot goes. Even the people that want to swear up and down that sugar is the devil, of course, we should not be just sitting down eating the entire sugar jar. However, sugar plays a far smaller impact on things than one might think. So don't stress about the small stuff. Get the big stuff down first, then you can worry about the small details. So don't worry about all that yet. Worry about your macros, worry about your fiber for right now. Okay, and then the other thing that is on here, this purple section, the percent daily value. The percent daily value is based off of a 2,000 calorie diet. If you happen to not eat an exactly 2,000 calorie diet, these percents mean almost nothing to you. So I don't really honestly ever even look at it. I look at all of these specific numbers and how these specific numbers match in with my goals and the macros that I have set for myself, or I've had someone set for me, if you have a coach or someone. But the percent daily value, I mean, it's there, but I honestly don't look at it personally. If any of you look at it or use it, please let us know in the comments. Tell us what you do. Okay, so once you understand what you're looking at on the label, now you need to be able to keep track of it and put this information somewhere so that you know what it is that you're eating over the course of a whole day. So the easiest way to do this is on apps like MyFitnessPal or Lose It, My Macros, things like that. I use MyFitnessPal. I have been using MyFitnessPal for over 10 years, I think, at this point. So I'm going to show you MyFitnessPal, but like I said, there are other apps out there. MyFitnessPal does have a free version. I happen to have the premium version, so mine might end up looking a little different than yours. This is going onto the website, myfitnesspal.com. There's the app, obviously, of course, too, which does look a little bit different from this, but the information is all the same. So I want to go through and just kind of show you what's going on here. So what you can do with the app, if you have the premium version, MyFitnessPal just changed October 1st, and they no longer allow you to scan the barcodes of your food products unless you have the paid version. Super bummer. There are other apps out there, however, that you can. I think Lose It still allows you to scan barcodes. And I have for my clients, I use an app where their workouts and nutrition are everything in one, and we can scan barcodes in mine. But unfortunately, MyFitnessPal, unless you pay for it, you cannot scan. But you can search. So you would just go into like the food database. If this is going to look, oh, really? Page not found. Thank you so much for that. Very helpful. You would go into the database and you would search for what you need. So once you log in a food item, like say, for example, my 3 ounces of cooked chicken breast, it's going to automatically pull up my calories, pull up my carbs, fat, and protein, and everything. It'll do all nutrients. It only shows sodium and sugar here, but in the app, you'll see everything. And I believe I can see everything if I click on the nutrition button later, but I'm not going to worry about that. So you can log all of those things. And what's pretty rad about apps as well is you can build recipes in them. So for example, I have been drinking a morning smoothie for, I believe, 12 years, every single day, pretty much. And so I just build it as a recipe. So I don't have to go in every morning and search almond milk, search up my protein powder, search up my berries, search up my banana, whatever else I put in there. So I just build it as a recipe, and all I have to do is type in morning smoothie and it pops right up and it gives me all of my calories and my macros for my smoothie. Okay. So that's a really great tool to help you save time. If it's a recipe that you're going to use more than once, I absolutely recommend building the recipe. I do have a video on my YouTube page for how to build recipes. However, it does use the barcode scanner, but you get the same idea with searching. But I am happy to post that link if anybody would like it, and to learn how to build a recipe in MyFitnessPal. Okay, so where are we? Oh, and do notice that I do log my vitamins as well every day. A couple of reasons for that. One of them being things like fish oil. This is omega-3 fish oils. And fish oil is a fat. And so it does have a couple of grams of fat in it. So I want to make sure I'm accounting for that in my fat macros as well as my calories. And then this is just a multivitamin, which, as you can see, doesn't have any calories or anything, but I do sometimes keep track of some of my nutrients like iron, my B vitamins, things like that. And so the only way to know how much of those things I'm getting is if I account for my vitamins as well. So I just auto log those every day. So what happens is when I go in and I just type in smoothie and I pick it, it also brings up recommendations for things that I've had with my smoothie in the past. And so since I take my vitamins every morning, those vitamins pop up. So all you have to do is you search up my smoothie, and then I just tap, yep, my omega, yep, my multivitamin, and I just hit log, and it just, everything's done for me. So this can definitely be a little bit overwhelming initially, but once you get going and once you have some things built up in your food diary, it becomes more and more simple as you go. So don't give up in the beginning because you're too overwhelmed. Stick with it, and it gets far simpler as time goes on. You know, you have these commonly eaten things that you enjoy all the time, and they'll just automatically be in your list. You can just click it and you're done. I do recommend logging your food in advance, like the night before or the morning of, because what tends to happen is we get going through the day and we're logging as we go, and then it gets to dinner time and what you want to eat doesn't fit your macros or doesn't fit your calories. And you're like, well, what do I do now? 9 times out of 10, people are just like, fuck it. And they just eat whatever they want anyway. And now we're off track, right? So in order to avoid that fuck it moment, then it's, oh, so sorry. My dog is shaking. She's like, quit cussing on TV, Mom, or on camera. So anyway, in order to avoid that fuck it moment, logging in advance, meal planning what you're going to have in advance, and then tracking it in advance will allow you to avoid those oh shit moments and keep you on track. I highly, highly, highly recommend logging your food in advance. And then another recommendation that I have is if this all seems like way too much and you're like, there's no way in hell I can do this, I'm giving up the dream, then start with just logging 1 meal a day. So just log breakfast. Don't even worry about lunch and dinner and snacks. Just get in the habit of logging your breakfast every single morning. Once that becomes second nature, now start logging something else that you eat consistently, like the same thing. Like maybe you always have the same snack or the same lunch every day or whatever, or not every day, but many days. Then now log breakfast and that one more thing. So just build up to logging everything so that you don't have to feel super overwhelmed all day long. Just start doing it little by little and build up the habit. And that's going to get you there just the same, maybe not as quickly, but you'll get there just the same in the end, and you'll have developed those really good habits of tracking and logging. I think that's about it. I talked about making sure you weigh your things, never eyeballing your portions, because that is just a complete recipe for disaster. All of the tracking in the world is not going to make a difference if your portions are off. So weighing your food is critical. At minimum, measure with measuring cups. Ideally, weigh them on a digital scale. Like I mentioned in last week's training, you only need a $10 to $15 scale off of Amazon or Walmart or somewhere. You don't need to get anything fancy. So what questions have you got? This may be feeling a little bit overwhelming. There's got to be some questions out there. So whether you're watching live or watching the replay, please tell me what questions you have. I'd love to answer them. I want to interact with you. Let me know what's going on. Next week, we are going to be talking about enjoying the holidays and still sticking to your goals. My answer to that might surprise some of you. Some of you are going to be like, oh yeah, that's what she would say. But some of you might be surprised at what I'm going to say about sticking to your goals and enjoying holidays. So make sure you join me here, same time, same place, next Wednesday, 7 o'clock. And that's all I got for you. So make sure you're drinking your water and you're eating your protein, and go try something new and awesome this week. Be adventurous. Stop sharing and turn this dang thing off. If you are watching this, make sure you're liking it. Make sure you're commenting. I will see y'all later.